Imagine taking out a loan where the annual interest rate isn't 7%. It isn't 20% like a credit card. It's 16,000%. Sounds impossible, right? Sounds like a typo or an illegal loan shark operation. But according to the New York State Attorney General, if you take a standard $35 overdraft fee on a tiny $26 shortfall and you pay that back in 3 days, mathematically, your annual interest rate is a staggering 16,000%. You are being charged a massive premium just for the privilege of being temporarily short on cash. This could happen to you, and it probably already has. Welcome to the Fraud Files, where we expose real scams and protect Americans like you. Today's case file could literally save you thousands of dollars over your lifetime. We're looking at a system that operates exactly like a scam, but it happens right out in the open inside the very institutions you trust with your life savings. We're talking about the complex, high-stakes battle over bank overdraft fees. Let's get right into it. We are going to track this massive operation step by step. First, the overdraft fee problem. Second, the CFPB crackdown. Third, how Congress reverses the cap. Fourth, the legal battleground. And finally, exactly how to avoid fees. Section 1. The overdraft fee problem. The multi-billion-dollar business. $5.8 billion. That is billion with a B. According to a coalition of state attorneys general, that is the exact amount of revenue banks pulled directly from your pockets through overdraft fees in the year 2023 alone. $5.8 billion in a single year. Who does this target? It targets everyday Americans just trying to pay for groceries or gas. This isn't just pocket change for these financial institutions. This isn't some minor administrative charge to cover their paperwork. For many of these banks, overdraft and non-sufficient fund fees are a massive, dedicated profit center built off your temporary lack of funds. So how does this trap actually work? Let's look at the mathematical disconnect right at the heart of this operation. Based on cold hard data from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and Bankrate, the average amount a consumer actually overdraws their account by is tiny. We're talking $24 to $26, just a couple of bucks short for a tank of gas or a few items at the store. But what happens next? The penalty fee for that tiny slip-up ranges from $27 to $35. Think about that for a second. You are routinely paying a penalty that is larger than the actual shortfall itself. They spot you $24 and demand $35 as a punishment. But the real psychological trick here, the part that catches so many victims off guard, is the surprise overdraft fee. Imagine this. You do everything right. You open your banking app. You see you have sufficient funds available. You swipe your debit card. The purchase goes through, fully authorized. You think you're safe. But later, due to incredibly complex back-office processing and the shuffling of intervening transactions, the bank tacks on a fee anyway. It is a penalty incurred when you had the money at the moment of authorization. You thought you were totally fine, but they hit you with a penalty behind the scenes. Section 2. The CFPB crackdown. Regulatory intervention. Are these institutions getting caught? Well, the government did attempt a massive crackdown, but federal policy on this has given everyone absolute chronological whiplash. Let's look at the timeline. In October 2022, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the CFPB, issued guidance warning banks that these surprise junk fees were likely unfair and unlawful. They put them on notice. Building on that, in early 2024, they formally proposed a rule to cap these fees at just $5 for the nation's largest banks, a massive win for everyday Americans. But then, the reality check. In April 2025, Congress stepped in and passed a resolution to completely kill that proposed rule. Section 3, Congress reverses the cap. The legislative twist. To really grasp what was lost here, we have to look closely at what that now dead CFPB rule would have actually done to protect you. It gave the big banks 3 very clear options. Number 1, charge a flat $5 fee. Simple. Number 2, set a higher fee, but they had to actually prove it was justified by their real operating costs. Or number 3, treat overdrafts exactly like a credit card, which would require full annual percentage rate or APR disclosures. The CFPB estimated this exact rule would have saved everyday households roughly $255 a year, $255 staying in your pocket. So how did this happen? How did a rule that saves Americans money get killed? The banking lobby fought back, hard, and lawmakers agreed with them. Listen carefully to how they spin this. Rob Nichols of the American Bankers Association said that without the rule, banks can continue offering this important optional service consumers rely upon to meet their short-time financial needs. The industry framed it not as a penalty, but as a crucial service. They argued the CFPB was forcing an unlawful price cap on them, and that if this valuable safety net was overregulated, banks would just completely stop offering overdraft protection altogether. But across the line, consumer advocates see the reality of this scheme. Chuck Bell from Consumer Reports laid it out perfectly. He argued that repealing the cap gives big banks the green light to rip off their customers with excessive charges. They point out the obvious truth: these fees far, far exceed the actual cost of covering a transaction. They exist to pad bank profits at the expense of working Americans who are just living paycheck to paycheck. Section 4. The legal battleground: courts and class actions. Because Congress killed the rule, the fight has moved to the courtrooms. It's fascinating and a little terrifying to see how the legal strategy has evolved. If we look back at a 2007 UK court ruling, a judge actually threw out a customer's claim, deciding that overdraft fees were simply a legitimate price paid for a service, not a penalty. But modern US class action lawsuits are changing the game. They aren't just arguing the fee is too high anymore. They are exposing the deceptive practices behind the curtain. For instance, lawsuits are targeting a tactic called reordering transactions. This is where a bank processes your largest purchases first, on purpose, to drain your account faster and trigger multiple overdraft fees in a single day. Think about that trick. But here is the honest reality check. Despite the legislative setbacks, immense public pressure is actually forcing a shift. The banking market is totally fractured on this issue right now. Look at this breakdown. Capital One completely eliminated all overdraft fees entirely. Bank of America proactively dropped their fee down to $10. Chase still charges a heavy $34 fee, but they now offer a $50 grace buffer. And Wells Fargo maintains a $35 fee, but gives you a 24-hour grace period to deposit funds before the penalty drops. The market is slowly moving, but you still have to be incredibly careful about who holds your money. Section 5. How to avoid fees: protecting your wallet. So how do you protect yourself? Checkbook provides direct, actionable steps to stop these institutions from draining your account. I want you to screenshot this list. Step 1. Simply decline optional overdraft protection. If you opt out, your card is just declined at the register. It might be slightly embarrassing, but the cost is $0. Step 2. Set up low balance text alerts on your phone. Step 3. Link your checking directly to a savings account so transfers happen automatically if you dip low. Step 4. Shop around. Compare options for banks that actually offer zero-fee accounts. And Step 5. Be incredibly vigilant if you use autopay. An automated bill hitting at the exact wrong time is the #1 way people get pushed into the red before they even realize what hit them. This brings me to a powerful question for you. Have you checked your bank's overdraft policy lately? Do you know exactly what they are doing with your money behind your back? The rules are changing rapidly, from Congress to the courtrooms to the banks themselves. Don't be a victim. Take 5 minutes today, log into your account, read the fine print, and make sure your bank isn't treating you like a profit center. Please share this explainer with your family and friends to protect them from these hidden fees. Subscribe to the Fraud Files for daily scam alerts. Comment below if this happened to you or someone you know. Stay alert, stay safe. The fraudsters are watching, but now, so are we. See you next time.